Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are live on the Fringe FM. It is March the 16th on into the 17th. It's midnight here on the East Coast, and the equinox is approaching. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, especially if you're tuning in live, and the patrons and all you supporters of Lighting the Void and the Fringe FM. Tonight we're going to go down a little bit of the conspiracy rabbit hole. We should be having Mr. Richard Willett coming on from Glitching the Code, as well as Rohan's here with us too. It's always fun to talk a little conspiracy, isn't it, Rohan? I think it's fun.
Always fun. Yeah, of course it is. A bit of exploration and speculation.
Yeah, right. It's always a good time to do that. Then tomorrow night, let's see, we're going to have on Sean McNamara, and I hope I'm saying this guy's name right. We're going to talk about telekinesis and focus and tension. And then Navier is going to come back on Thursday, and then we'll head off into the weekend. So it's going to be a cool week, another round of shows too. Last night I did Mary's show replay because you can ask Rohan. He's been kind of helping me late at night too sometimes with. There's a ton of programming and reprogramming that I have to do on the station. Like, it's a mess. It's a lot. You actually witnessed it firsthand, so you know how much. I think people think that I'm just BSing them sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to see the inside, like I say, behind the scenes and stuff. And you got to think about it. It's like it hit me when I saw it. I thought, no, it's a radio station, isn't it? So imagine going to a radio station. It's all of that stuff, except you put a lot of the equipment into a software that costs a lot of money. So it's like, hang on a minute, you still need a team, don't you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, now I see now. You need roller skates, don't you? And like 8 arms sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, we spent, we're just talking shop here, but I mean, I spent like 3 hours programming like 2 months worth of star dates, right? And then woke up the next day. This really kind of pissed me off too. Woke up the next day and it was all gone. Like all of them. For some weird reason, it just kind of, it glitched. And that
like computers, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's crazy. So the subject tonight we were going to talk about is, fringe broadcasting and research, right? So, and I talked to Rohan about this too, and I'm sure some of you guys probably want to know about this. Like, what can you trust nowadays, right? Like, when it comes to how do we break free from the impending technocracy, number one, that's obviously coming towards us, that we can see this, and is information the true currency of our time? And what I mean by that is it's pretty delicate, or I would say precious, to get, especially on the internet, to get factual information, right? Now, we can look up Google for all kinds of facts, but when it comes to like the news, current events, trying to figure out what's really going on, it takes a little bit of hard work still to do that, because there's so much BS out there. I promise you. So much bias, so much spins on it. It's just crazy to try to sift through it all. And then how do we effectively share information in a time where everybody's being suppressed? All the journalism, all the real journalism's being suppressed with, censorship and everything else. Like, I mean, even on YouTube, this guy commented on the Lighting the Void YouTube channel. He said, how in the world did you have Lynn Buchanan on and you only got like 200 or 300 views? And I said, well, it's because they put that new algorithm in there. So they push all of the subject matter down in YouTube when it comes to UFOs, conspiracy, the paranormal, stuff like that. They did it on purpose, and it's really strange, right?
Yeah, of course. But I think things like this, they kind of write them. So you got to always remember the universe has been around a heck of a lot longer than we have, right? So it sorts itself out. There's self-writing mechanisms, even black holes, right? We used to be taught that they're these like monsters that eat everything, and they're not. The regulator valves. Black holes aren't. The regulator valves, all they are. That's exactly how they function. So, and they're vital for creating galaxies.
Are you sure about that? You're positive?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done my particle physics to death. Yeah, the regulator valves, because there comes a point where they can't eat anymore because things become too distant for them to even grab, even with the gravity. It's complicated, but yeah, the regulator valves, right? And so with things like this, it writes itself. It's like it gets so big and so massive, it collapses under the weight of its own corruption and its own dominance, because it can't support itself, because it's not made on a solid foundation, literally, is it? You know what I'm saying? It's just like a manifestation of ego going out of control, I think, and then it writes itself. That's why you get rises and falls of civilization, and I think the trick is to try and not fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I really do kind of like, and I know Richard Willett, he's over in the UK too. So sometimes it's hard to get people on from over across the pond, unless you're like Rohan and you're staying up all hours like I am. But, but the thing is, it's like, I like the guy's attitude about it, because usually when you talk about, COVID, bloodlines and the end of the world and all this other stuff, there's really kind of a negative approach about it, right? And the thing is it's perfectly all right for it to be negative. But what I think we need to do is have a little bit of faith in humanity, not power, but humanity. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. That's the energy I've ended up falling into. That's what I kind of believe anyway. And it's that's why I like to drive home that I don't think anybody's really in control. Be a leaf in the river. And so as I'm kind of saying, have a bit of faith. I think Terence McKenna used to say, you're already on an upward traveling escalator. So just not moving, you're kind of going up anyway. But if you take some steps too, then you'll get up really fast, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I've been really studying back into like the Kabbalah and mystery schools, and talking to Andy Cooper over with Helios and stuff and NLP. And basically everything it's real simple, right? Like if you take it back down to the base elements, everything is the physical world, the physical body, intellect, psychology, emotions in the astral realm, desire, creativity, and the will. And that's what we're made up of. And then once you put these together, then you have the gender forces, or the sexual forces, male, female energy, which is inside everybody, which is the creative energy in the universe. And then it all comes together as one thing. Well, if you start understanding this stuff, Like,
Yeah.
I mean, really the basics of that, and then look at just basic science, then you'll see what the hell is happening, right? And how easy it is to love.
That's exactly it. Exactly where I'm at with that. And like I say, because they're like the basic, they're like the elements, isn't it, that you've said there? That's like a really simple periodic table of elements. And then, like I say, the gender and the spark of life, aka the organ, the prana, the chi, the sexual energy, that's the fire. Yep. That's the fire, the fuel for the engine. And it's that simple. And I think what it is that because our brains are complicated and we've got this free will and this almost infinite creativity, they get us in Jedi mind tricks, playing little mind games, chasing our tails, chasing paradoxes, because they only really exist in our heads. You know?
It sounds cheesy though, right? But there really is two motivations, two big motivations behind everything that happens, right? There's love and power. And it's really easy to tell which one's which if you just can see it for what it is, you know?
And I think that's why it comes through, and why I think the Fringe is taking off, and it's just the right thing at the right time and stuff like that. It's because it's that authenticity. It just keeps coming back to that. What have we all been craving? What do we complain about? You know, plastic, it's fake, it's this is a veneer. People are breaking behind the seams. You know, it's like, come on, all this fakeness, all this keeping up with the Joneses, all this pressure, all this social stuff, and it's all cultural operating systems. They're all programs, they're all apps. To give us apps is an example, right? If you go to sports stadiums to support the baseball team, you've got baseball culture. But then if you're in a corporate office, you've got corporate office culture. But then if you're part of a religion, you've got that religious culture, and you've got all these apps running in your head. They're all cultural apps, and none of them are your friend, because they're all putting boundaries in place and expectations and shaming opportunities. Yeah. So the thing to do is ignore all of them and dissolve all the boundaries.
You put yourself in like a box. The authenticity, I think, is spirituality, really. But you have to realize that even the most authentic people, the most intelligent, real, truthful, authentic people are still in a process of self-discovery, a process of growth. So even the most authentic, intelligent people in the world, that have crowds of people that follow them, are still in a process of self-discovery, whether they're aware of it or not. So, like, who's doing what? That's what you got to recognize. Like, who's being real with you? Who's being authentic? Who's loving? And who is using forces and all kinds of these different things we talk about to manipulate and for power reasons. And it don't have to be, honestly, it don't even have to be like Walmart or Bill Gates or anything like that. You got to recognize this stuff in your immediate life first. Like, if you see people like doing this stuff, complaining about all these different conspiracies and the power and stuff, which is, don't get me wrong, it's part of the problem, but either they themselves are doing this or they're allowing others to do it to them in their immediate life, then what are you doing? Like,
exactly.
Well, I mean, you're not going to ever be a part of the solution, ever.
This is the thing. So you said that about felt experience, because I wrote that down in advance, you know, as well, because it's such a important point, I think, to make. Is that you want to talk about truth and a truth movement and being a truth art. Make no mistake, the only truths you're ever going to find, if you find any, you're probably only going to get close. The only ones you're ever going to get is the immediate presence of your own felt experience. The rest is just words that you've heard from other people, isn't it?
Yeah, so I like listening to alternative journalists and researchers like this guy, also Last American Vagabond, and there's all kinds of really good alternative, even No Agenda. I'll listen to podcasts that they're just, even if there's a little bit of comedy in there, they're being real with you, telling you the facts as they see them. They're not trying to twist stuff up on you, and they don't have all these different corporations and medias and things like that above them controlling what they say. It's just people trying to be real about stuff. It's cool.
As they see them. You said it, as they see them. And that takes my associative mind back to Terence McKenna, Into the Jungle, and I'm there with him in the jungle talking about synesthesia. When you see words, as images, and you have that as a shared experience, then that means that the meanings of the words and the meaning behind what you say, your intention, can be seen. So you ain't got to imagine it, you can see it. So if you have a shared experience where you can see the meanings of the words, there is no debate. There's no argument. Everybody can see it. It's three-dimensional. You can walk around it. Everybody can see the meaning of what's just been said as an abstract three-dimensional shape. So everybody interprets it the same. You know what I'm saying? That's why that's why you need the sacred plants. It's not for getting high and going to parties. It's so you can see through time. So you can see the code in the matrix and put it together in shapes and make magical Doctor Strange patterns in it and do magic. It's literal. That's what this stuff's for. It's called natural magic, isn't it? You know, it's deep, heavy duty stuff, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think the coolest thing to do is study the esoteric and the occult and the out of body experience, because it opens the door to everything, like all the stuff that everybody talks about, from the paranormal all the way down to the quantum realm. Like, it's there, you know.
Yeah.
That and sacred geometry too.
It brings me to life. It sets me on fire. I feel like Tony Stark's on payday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You feel like Tony Stark, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't get that meme. And that is, you know, when he comes down, he's got his suit on. Just before he's about to rip his suit, he's got his Iron Man thing on. It's just like, you know, when you feel magic, you got brand new shoes on, you're walking down Broadway, you know, because he just fills me with light to do this consciousness stuff and see all this magical stuff. You know deep down that's the real stuff. I knew it. And also, I'm glad as well, because the BS world that gets sold to us is so drab and boring and crap and makes us look so weak and pathetic. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to believe that one anyway, because, you know. That's
why I've kind of never wanted to make sure that I put myself out there as an image of an expert or authority on something. Like, and I'm not stupid enough that I understand the image is part of like this business in a way, right? But I'm never gonna do it like the way people think I should, because to me, this is a real number, with 150,000 new podcasters coming out approximately every month, right?
Yeah.
The people that try to speak as if they're right all the time, and you can tell those people from the other people, you know.
Yeah.
For some reason, they get the following. They get a psychological following of people that, just because it sounds right, you know. Yeah, you know, that's like when you go to church or something and like they read a verse, there could be 9 different interpretations, but because the pastor that's reading it, his percept sounds a certain way, and it like he believes it, and the other people start going, yeah, that's, you know. Yeah.
I saw that happen, but it was clearly, I saw that happen, but it was a guy that clearly didn't know the verse too well. But I think he was saying a popular one that no normal pastor normally says. So for me, as an outsider, not normally there, I saw it, but everybody else just kind of went along with it, and it's a bit awkward. And I thought, no, man, you got to be authentic. But like I say, no.
Choking on my coffee, dude.
That was a good move. That's probably one of the best business moves you ever could have made, though, is to decide to go from that and just from a person angle. And I think what happens, people mean well. Mostly people are good, yeah, and they mean well, yeah. So, but when you do this stuff and you start thinking you got answers, you can get locked into a bit of a belief, can't you? Which is why I try my best to try and not have any beliefs and not looking, because I think it's looking in one direction. So I try to see if I can look in 360-degree directions. It's hard, but that's why I think you have to stay loose and not really commit and just have a bit of faith and just go with your intuition and try and trust yourself. So you don't be humble. Always go with it being humble. I think that's a little safeguard you have to do just to be sure.
Well, we live in a world too, by the way, where this just happened today. And this is from my home state of Arkansas, where this family got kicked off a flight on, I don't know if you saw this, because their 4-year-old who has nonverbal autism wasn't wearing a mask. They kicked the whole family off the flight.
Yeah, it's got out of control. It's just become about ego. I think it's gone beyond egos. I think people have become robotic on it.
Well, here's the thing: like the woman, the mother of this child, Callie Kimball, you know, she told KTHV or it's KTHV. They put it on there backwards in the article, but that he freaks out when he wears a mask is whenever he wears a mask, he holds his breath and he starts freaking out. He's autistic, you know?
Of course, yeah. That's one of the exemptions specifically stated, the first exemption in the UK for mask wearing, if it's going to be too distressing due to like mental health or whatever, and they don't really elaborate. But yeah, that's the first thing. So even in the evil UK that does massive mass ritual blood magic spells on the whole nation, it's still accounted for that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh man, it's maniacs. The ego, it's maniacs. People gone crazy. Joe.
Well, his disability is 100% protected under the American Disability Act.
Yeah, of course it is.
And that the Spirit, this company, this corporation, they said no, autism's not a disability. He has to wear a mask or he has to get off the plane.
That's right. Well, one, it is a disability, and two, it's irrelevant because it's just a horrible thing to do. And three, it's liable still. So, just sue the crap out of them. They'll soon stop it. That's what I say. Just sue the crap out of them. Don't you want some money at the minute?
Yeah, they might get you. They might have a case there, right? But the crazy thing is, this kid, a couple of people YouTubed him in the airport. Like the kid is obsessed with airplanes. Like he loves airplanes. So he's sitting in a seat, looking out the window, waiting to take off, and this lady comes around and is like, "Get off the plane." Can you imagine as that like a autistic toddler?
That's devastating, isn't it? Yeah. That's
so these people are out their flight, they're out like $1,000, and they got their son who's distraught. All because he wouldn't put a mask on, which has absolutely nothing. Look, when I rode on an airplane, you know what I did? I just ate peanuts the whole time and held a cup of water, and I didn't have to wear the mask. Like I had it pulled down the whole time. So what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's all that appeal to authority just goes to show how brainwashed we've all become, and it's no surprise because we've had the television for so long. Tachistoscope, subliminal messaging. They discovered it in 1921. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing it for ages. You know, it's all scripting. Look at the Chinese and people from Hong Kong. They come here, and they've been wearing masks the whole time. They've been doing it for decades. They haven't needed to. You know, they're not doing it for pollution around here. So why are they wearing them? Because the conditioned decade, year after year.
I'm going to tell you right now, like that would have been extremely hard for me. I mean, that would have been extremely hard for me if that was my son.
Yeah.
I really was thinking about that today. I was like, if that was my son, and imagine your son is autistic and a toddler, and he's in love with airplanes, and they're just like, get off the plane.
Honestly,
ma'am,
Joe, I can't go along.
The first thing to say, ma'am, you're gonna have to get off the plane, and I don't know. Like, I understand that COVID is real and people need to take precautions, but
I do, but they've got out of hand, and the tatting stuff that's not true. They're omitting data, the censoring, as we know. And on top of that, I used to have a girlfriend that had an autistic son, and she literally wrote to Tony Blair and said, "You had your kids done separate with the MMR jab. Please, can I pay to have mine done separate?" And they said no. And he had a jab, and she said 2 weeks later he had a discharge from his nappy like black oil, and he was autistic. She watched the boy disappear. And Ira Robinson, the author I mentioned to you before, he's got an autistic son. That he's got proof, letter apologising for vaccine damage, giving him autism. So imagine if that's the case, and then the kid's now traumatised through that. Maybe the doctors then offer some big pharma, some tablets to help out. You know what I mean? It's all like a cycle, isn't it, of horrible meanness. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Those days are done now. It's down towards its grassroots days now. We have to ignore all of this stuff, make it irrelevant by just not participating. It's that time, isn't it? We've literally just got to do it.
It's so dumb.
Just got to carry on and do our own thing and just ignore them.
It's so dumb.
Fade away.
We got to get into the break here. We're going to try to get our guest on tonight. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
Stardate March 16th. The rings around the planet Uranus are young, and like most youngsters, they're pretty active. Uranus is the third largest planet in the solar system, and the seventh planet from the Sun. This evening, it appears close to the upper right of the Moon. Through binoculars, it looks like a small star with a hint of blue-green. The planet's rings are so faint that they were discovered only about 4 decades ago. Most of them are made of small pebbles, although a few are made of dust. The rings probably are less than 600 million years old, about 1/7 the age of Uranus itself. The brightest and densest ring is the Epsilon Ring. Its orbit is a little off-center, so the width of the ring varies. The section that's closest to Uranus is only about 20 miles wide. But as the particles in the ring move away from the planet, the ring spreads out to about 60 miles wide. It's held in check by the gravity of 2 small moons, one on the inside edge of the ring and the other on the outside. The delta ring looks wavy. That may indicate that it too is held in check by a tiny moon. The moon may create the waves as it moves past the ring particles. 2 outer rings were discovered in the early 2000s. One of them is fairly blue, suggesting it's made mainly of ice. The ice particles may be chipped off the surface of a nearby moon when it's hit by other space rocks, adding fresh ice to one of Uranus's dynamic rings. You can follow us on social media and through our website, stardate.org. For the McDonald Observatory, I'm Billy Henry.
This is the Rogie Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. In military space news, France has started their first military actions in space to test their abilities to defend the nation's satellites. Last year, I joked about the commercialization of space, and this year, it's all about defense in space. The United States has Space Force, and France has the newly created Space Command. According to phys.org, the drills were to simulate the monitoring of potentially dangerous space objects and threats to satellite, and is set to grow to 500 people by 2025. Defense Minister Florence Parly said, "Our allies and adversaries are militarizing space. We need to act." The U.S. Space Force and German space agencies are taking part in the French exercises. So remember, everything the U.S. is doing, other nations are probably working on similar projects. A meteor exploded over Vermont on March 7th. Hundreds of people witnessed the event, and according to a post on NASA's Facebook page, the meteor was traveling at approximately 42,000 miles per hour. The space rock exploded and produced a pressure wave that rattled buildings and generated a sound heard by those near the trajectory. And according to the measurements, NASA believes the meteor weighed about 10 pounds and measured about 6 inches in diameter. Recently, an astronaut/explorer named Richard Garriott dove to the deepest point on Earth. Garriott is the son of an astronaut, a video game designer, and funded his own trip to the International Space Station. And now, according to lifescience.com, on March 1st, he took a submersible to the lowest point on Earth, the Mariana Trench. He's the first person to travel to both poles, launch into Earth's orbit, and reach the deepest point in the ocean. UFO sightings in upstate New York have doubled in 2020. The National UFO Reporting Center reports that sightings in upstate New York went up from 89 sightings in 2019 to 162 sightings in 2020. The entire state of New York reported 310 sightings, but compared to other states, New York has one of the lowest numbers of reported sightings. The city in New York with the most sightings? Rochester, with 10 reports. Do you love horror movies? Well, an exorcism priest from the Philippines said watching horror movies that deal with things like magic or witchcraft is dangerous and could lead to possession. The priest posted to his Facebook page, "I've been exorcising a young woman for many weeks now. 39 demons have already been cast out. 5 of these demons come from movies. This has been the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
This is Dancing Dave from Surviving the System, and you're listening to the Fringe FM. Remember, ladies and gentlemen,
Folks,
the
this
best
is very
revenge
important
is
information.
success.
What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
It's March,
Have a great
month
day.
of the spring equinox. Ostara, right here on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM.
Norman T. Balone, assistant janitor.
Yeah?
I am here to inform you that everyone in this unbelievably large advertising agency has been fired.
Oh, no.
Except for you.
Really?
Which means, Mr. Balone, you're now president of this entire unbelievably large advertising agency.
Gee, I don't know much about advertising.
Apparently, neither did anyone else around here.
See, I spend most of my time mopping floors and listening to the radio.
Radio, now there's an efficient and economical way to advertise.
Really?
Well, sure, radio costs a fraction of TV.
Ooh.
And radio targets specific customers.
I love radio.
So you'll accept the job.
Boy, it's a big responsibility.
Make up your mind, Balone. This is the chance of a lifetime.
All right, I'll do it.
Splendid. In 3 hours, you will address the stockholders at our annual meeting.
Oh, what'll I say?
You'll explain why this company lost $17 billion last year.
Can I change my mind? I don't really believe
Radio. Red hot because it works. For all the facts, call this station or the Radio Advertising Bureau.
Starting
Ahoy there,
March 15.
GG here from Shift Happens. Do you like to boogie down to topics such as ufology, the occult, and the mysteries behind our reality? Well, I invite you to join us every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 10 p.m. Eastern, as we like to punch that curiosity button and tickle that fancy. We tickle that fancy, but yeah, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but there's certainly a lot of tickling going on over here at Shift Happens.
It's the time change or whatever, but trying to get a guest on here from across the pond. I don't even know if the time has changed over there yet. I think I was talking to Rohan about that, so we haven't been able to get a hold of him just yet. But I know for sure, Pancho emailed him, talked to him about the time three or four times. So it happens. Like, this stuff happens. It's live radio. That's why all you podcasters out there that don't do live stuff, you guys get away with so much. You get away with looking and sounding perfect, never making mistakes, cutting everything out. And then we got to deal with the rugged stuff here, like a bunch of pikeys, Right? But I wouldn't trade it. I really wouldn't trade it for anything. I can't imagine just doing the recorded podcast and never doing live. Like, I don't know. It's more exciting to me, actually.
I think so. It's a bit like, have you ever watched, Joe, those like where people do tutorials, like a video game that's tough, and then sometimes they'll pre-record it, but the live reactions are so much better. You get shocked by a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching. What was the name of that movie? I don't know. Like I wanted to take a break because I've been working on and reading and like looking at screens and reading and working. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna chill and watch a movie for a minute. And I watched that movie, Ford versus Ferrari. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, I haven't, but I bet that sounds good.
Yeah, so it's got Matt Damon in it, Christian Bale, and a couple other people. It was back when they were doing that Le Mans race, right?
Yeah,
Or it's like
when
that
they had the
24-hour.
GT40 and stuff.
Yeah, it's a 24-hour race, and it's got like the Ferrari, the Ford, and all these different people that race in it. And this was about when Ferrari had won, the Italian car had like won so many races, and Ford wanted to win, and they went and got Shelby, the guy, and his guy that drove it was Ken Miles, or I think that's just what his name was, from England. The guy was English, and they called him the Bulldog. And I don't know, it's just an interesting story to watch, even back then, how corporations worked. Like the guy busted his hump and they put their business on the line, did everything just to get to the finish line, just to win this race. And at the end, he made them slow down so the other cars can catch up so they could take a picture for the media.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I hate to spoil the movie, but it's actual, like, it's a true story too. So it's not really a spoil. You know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a legendary story, and that's it was the prestige of I think it's the Ford GT40, isn't it? And it's kind of a unique looking car, and it looks a bit. It's that era, isn't it? Encapsulates it like. But it's like say that kind of stuff. It's unique in history.
That's my point, though. Like they have to control the narrative so much. Like I would have told that dude to kiss my butt. Like there's no way. I'm not slowing down for the other cars. I've almost lapped them.
Cuts it back around, Joe, doesn't it, to that authenticity. It's, do you want to make the records because that's what's popular, or do you want to make the record because that's what you like to sing? What do you want it to be? You know?
I don't know. It's just a controlled narrative. There's too much manipulation out there. I just don't think it's a good thing. Like government is manipulation, corporations are manipulation, advertising's manipulation, narcissism is manipulation. Most of the trauma that people have in their life come from manipulation. It's all about painting a picture because you're trying to control somebody's narrative or their perception. And even then, like this guy they went through hell. I mean, he even put his business on the line. He was like, look, I'll give you my whole company if he doesn't win Daytona and then go win the Le Mans. Put all this stuff up, and at the end they're like, hey, you know what would be cool if you just slow down so we get to take a picture for the media, because that would make us look really good. Ford.
Yes.
Have you driven a Ford lately? No. I don't drive Ford. Like, nope. No, I'm a Chevy guy. But I don't know. It's annoying. Right.
It's just one of them. It's like I say, these things are important, man. These little stories. It's like they are like modern allegories, aren't they? You know.
Yeah.
And also as well with because those times will be gone, and one day there won't be gasoline, and there won't be no exploding petrol to make pistons work. There'll be none of that. You know, like plasma cars or whatever. So that era will be gone. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna be teleporting around in little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like iRobot, he wanted to have the motorbike, didn't he? And she's like freaking about it because it's run on gasoline. Gasoline explodes, you know. And it's like because he wants the feel of a real motorbike, you know, analog sort of thing.
But they put Henry Ford II in that car and started driving him around like Shelby did. And it was so fast because the other dude was trying to control the fact that Ken Miles wanted to drive. And he got such an adrenaline rush from it that he just had an emotional breakdown, you know, started crying and all kinds of stuff, man.
All that emotion and the build up of making it. Is he building something, aren't you? Something, I don't know.
Yeah, he goes, I want to get in the car. I want to see what $9 million has done for me. You know, he goes, you want to see it? And he locked the vice president guy up into like this room so he couldn't control it. Because he wanted to tell him, you're going to let me get this other guy, like Ken Miles, the guy from England. He was the baddest driver in the world, you know? So he's like, why don't you get in the car here, Mr. Ford, and we'll show you what it's like. And then he just really cranks on it right around the curves and everything. And at the end of it, this guy that's run a massive corporation and put $9 million into this car, he doesn't even know. It's like he doesn't even know what it's doing.
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? But that's why people are amazing. Yeah, we're just weird like that, but we can weird our way through to anything, I reckon, if that makes sense, you know.
Because he's sitting in his office all the time. That's why.
Yeah, it is.
I want to drive Ronnie from Get the Tea, the sponsor on the network. He's got one of those Baja rigs. I want to drive that thing. I want to go out there and drive it in Arizona.
So it's all sorts of fun. I've got a friend called Dennis. He said that if he'd love it if we had the world as his playground, he'd just go and do all sorts. And I was like, wouldn't you be alone there? And he's like, no, I think I'd be fine. I'd just do all this fun stuff. Like do that, go and fly a plane or go and skid around in a bobcat on an ice rink, you know, sort of thing. It would be nice. We should all be able to do that, shouldn't we? We should all be able to just go around and have fun and just be people.
Well, if we don't do this soon, there's going to be some Fringe underground parties. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know. They're going to be awesome. I'm kind of hoping to keep lockdown going for about another 2 or 3 years so we can really, get them parties in. You know what I'm
saying? We're going to create a Ford cipher is what we're going to do. Not a Ford cipher. I don't know why I said that, but a Void Walker cipher, where everybody's going to get an email. And if you have the cipher, it's going to have a longitude and latitude and a time on it.
Yeah. That's I like that. It'd be making more fun as well. Oh, they'd be so good, man. It'll be like Zion in the Matrix.
That's so crazy too, because I remember watching that and when beating them drums, and that's just like a rave party when everybody gets all tribal and stuff,
I know, yeah,
and you hear those just drums like doom doo 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 doo, and everybody's just like moving around like a wave. It looks great to me.
Alone in the cave, and these walls are steel, stone, and vinyl.
I mean, I don't know, like
dancing, bro. With music and dancing, it's rhythms, it's frequency, it's tone into it. I think we're supposed to dance in some way, because there's natural rhythms in all sorts of stuff. Stars, whatever, cycles.
Well, no, that's true too. Like I told you that first time that I had a psychedelic experience at the first rave I went to. I could see the wave in the crowd through the people. I could see it, literally. Because when the DJ gets on, he's doing like this 4 on the floor type stuff or doing a house beat. And then eventually, if you back up and like stand on the top of a speaker or something, you'll start seeing what's that guy? Jim, I was going to say Jim Mars. It's not Jim Morrison from the Doors or whatever. Like he talked about it. He said, it's not the music that they like. It's the sanctuary. In other words, it's the sacrament is what he said. So it's a place where everything becomes sacred and all moves in one. And if you listen to, I'm going to bring up Robert Monroe's book again, when in like his third book, when he goes way out there into the stars, like deep into consciousness, right? And he's so deep, he had to create his own language. He talks about movement, like almost as if he was just this ball of light that heard some type of music that was really familiar, that felt more like home than anything. And he said, I know this movement, up, down, left, right, up, down, left, forward, back, right. Yeah. And he's like, this is what he's doing, like deep into consciousness, like traveling out of his body into the galaxy or whatever. Like he's back as energy again.
I've noticed that. I've mentioned to you about dreams, and I don't remember much. So when I do, that stick in my mind. And I remember having a dream. Were you saying that it felt more like home than anything? The DMT felt like that, and I remember having a dream about there was a style of music. I don't know. I was in some Black Ops team for some reason, going through this club, and there was no one in it, but they had this music playing. The DJ's left on, and it was an unusual style of music that I can't really describe. Do you know what I mean? But it was somewhat like dubstep mixed with some weird kind of industrial techno, but it had a different kind of, whatever. It's in your dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like the movie.
It's weird, aren't they? You get them bits in dreams that remind you, they feel so familiar, even though they're so abstract and weird. You can't have seen it before, but they feel so familiar, like you've been there before. There's these astral realms that they really are, aren't they? They really are places, aren't they?
And it's kind of like that movie Cloud Atlas, in Cloud Atlas, where they're all playing that same song and it goes throughout all those different lifetimes. And
I think we drop them in ourselves. They're our own little Easter eggs for our own novels.
That's the song. I've heard it before. Do you think we do that? Like we drop each other Easter eggs in future lifetimes?
No, I think we drop our own for ourselves in advance, man. When that happened with that Buddha, I saw that Buddha thing turn up in my bedroom. I said praying to my dad, "Come as you are," and I immediately, because of my brain association, thought Nirvana. I thought of Liam Fisher, Liam the Violent Buddhist, mate I used to know. That immediately triggered off me to think, "Come as you are," Nirvana, Buddhism, Nirvana. Doing that, Maitreya Buddha turns up in your bedroom. You know what I'm saying? There's all these little stupid little links, and then I got like 3 months of them solid. You know what I'm saying? It's like obvious cycles when you look back at it and get, take a step back. But it's just, life's weird, man. It's just weird.
You know what's funny too? What are you doing, man? What is that? You rubbing your hands together or something?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you got a condenser mic, so it picks up everything. Do you know what, you know what's weird too? This is going to sound completely bonkers, but back when I was young, I never did anything like really, you know how like you can huff like whippets and stuff? Have you ever done one of those? Like when you were young, like a stupid kid, like the whipped cream thing. It just kills brain cells. That's all it does.
No, I've never done that.
But you get that high where it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's the same kind of thing, right? Here's the thing. Everybody that I know that's done that has had some type of moment where they just realize like everything in the universe and then forget it instantly. It's almost like you come to this knowing and then you forget it.
I get that with a vertigo, except I can push my way through it, but then I kind of don't get the stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I can feel the feeling. It's like a nothingness. It's like a density change. It feels super heavy.
All right, so people in the chat know what I'm talking about. Like the first time I went to Panama City Beach, Florida, they just put a GIF of somebody doing one. Right? They do. They have these big balloons. Well, not that kind of. So you know those balloons when you were a kid that had the yellow rubber band that you could bounce, right?
Oh,
you just blow it up and you bounce. They would take those whipped cream canisters and fill those big balloons up full of that, and then you would just inhale it, inhale, exhale till it's gone. And dude, it feels so good, but also you're killing brain cells by the pounds, right? But it feels so good, and you get this, you feel like you're going to die, right? But you don't care.
That's saying you had that throbbing then. Where's that? Where's it located? Is it can you feel it in your head?
Yeah, so you're like, you feel it all over, and it's completely stupid. So if you do it, you're an idiot. You're just an idiot. You're being an idiot. But at the time when I was in Panama, I was walking down the strip and these girls pulled up in this black car and there were like 6 of them in there and they were like, "Hey, you want to get in?" And I was like, yeah, So I got in there and I tripped over. They had those little nitrous canisters like all across the floor, like literally in piles. They were just killing brain cells by the pounds.
Yeah.
But the first time I did it, I mean, come on, I was young and an idiot, but I was 18. But when I did it, there was a moment I remember where like everything, I understood everything, like everything. And then I couldn't explain it. And even when you're feeling it, you can explain it. Kind of.
Yeah,
you think you can explain it.
I think so. Well, I think you get snippets of it when you talk. If you talk with real authenticity and you're really exploring, you're just musing and stuff. I think sometimes when we say stuff, we're kind of having epiphanies live, and our words are being helped. I think that's where you get auto writing and sort of auto speaking a little bit. I think we get little nudged ideas pushed into our heads a little bit.
The first time I had the out of body experience, when that vibratory state went over my body, and I kind of slipped out and became a ghost. That moment, I had the same kind of experience where it felt like I understood, like when you come out and you realize that you're out of body, and then you're like, I get everything now, at least for a second, and it fades away.
Yeah. But it lets you see a glimpse, so you know it's there and reachable.
Yeah. So normal stuff that, like a lot of paranormal activity, there's a lot of theories about what it is. It's ghosts, it's spirits, it's demons or whatever. But how many people, if everybody gets out of body at night, right? Like everybody, and they don't remember it. And everybody has to pass through this, what Robert Monroe, what he calls locale 1, which is this physical plane, before they go into another plane of consciousness. Then there's billions of people moving around in the spirit realm right now that are alive, not just dead. Plus the dead ones. So I would say, if that's the case, most of the paranormal activity is probably people just have an out-of-body experience. Like when you see stuff move, or you see something out of the corner of your eye, or something comes off a shelf, you know.
I think that's exactly what it is. Shadow people as well. People astral projecting, you know. And I tried to capture orbs at one time, only because I've seen this woman. She seemed to be getting loads of them all the time. She says, if you just keep taking pictures, you'll get them eventually. So I thought I'd try it, and I'll do like panoramic shots across my living room over and over again. And I did get some, right? But because I've took these like burst shots, I got to see like trajectories. Do you know what I mean? And it looks literally like you're getting these spots coming in, and the size is dependent on how close it is to you. It looks like literally they're coming in from other angles, just crossing our plane. Every single shot where I got some trajectories, it looked like that. They're just crossing our plane. And any ones that seem quite big, it just looked like people in lotus positions with a sphere around them.
Really?
So I'm thinking about it's just, I bet it's just Merkaba. I bet orbs are just people doing Merkaba, just traveling around, isn't it?
You saw people in the lotus position with like spheres around them?
Yeah, the only ones that looked quite big, I could see like something in the middle. Yeah, and the one that looked quite clear looked like someone in a lotus position with a ball around them. And that made me think of Merkaba, and it made me think of those when Terence McKenna talks about in the DMT thing, self-dribbling basketballs, and they're the same. They're like a little see-through crystal thing with like some lines on it, a bit like the pattern on a basketball, and they've got shape-shifting like color inside it. So it's like there's something about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like
self-dribbling basketballs. That's cool.
Yeah, crazy, man. But you know, it's a
well,
weird universe.
Yeah, I could listen to Terrence McKenna. If you guys want to, if you're bored and you're by yourself, just turn on some Terrence, like best of Terrence McKenna, and lay back and listen, you know, for a little while. It's the top of the hour already. We're going to keep trying to get our guest on. I think, didn't you say the time changed over there or something? Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, we do it a little bit later. We did our spring jump forward slightly later than the US. So
we are definitely approaching the equinox. We can talk about that too. What is all that about? We can talk about that too when we come back. More LTV coming up. Stay with us.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner
Void Walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root on the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a Void Walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a Void Walker. Thanks, Joe Rube.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
From the Kingdom of Arkansas, you are listening to Joe Root and Lighting the Void here on the Fringe FM.
Hey, this is Amalia from Know the Self Mystery School. I know that you are in the midst of massive change. We all are. This is the great turning, the time that we all decided to be here on the planet. Do you know why you came here to be a part of this crazy time? If not, I invite you to join my mystery school. I have a 9-week course called Activate Your Mission. And in this course, you're going to learn how to erect crystal clear boundaries so that you can hear that inner still voice that's going to guide your every move move. Even if you're dealing with feeling weighed down by obligations and being enslaved to the system, this course is going to give you the tools you need to illuminate your shadow and awaken to your soul's mission. The moment you sign up to the school, you are going to be greeted by not only a group of soulful spiritual warriors, but you're also going to get some massive karmic clearings, and you're going to feel the energy. It's palpable. I hope you'll join me in the school where together we're going to unlock your divine mission.
Activate your mission by going to thefringe.fm/soul mission and put in the code word Fringe and receive $50 off today. To Lighting the Void. Now listen, you guys, I got some new stuff. I can't even pronounce it. Anaxactium from Get the Tea. It's like helping my eyes and stuff. Make sure you guys go to getthetea.com, and when you go there and you make your orders, put in the Fringe FM. Sent you there as well. I just got off the phone with Ronnie. Actually, that's how I learned about the Ford versus Ferrari show too. And there's something I want to talk to you guys. I'm so excited about it. I can't even hold it in. I don't even really know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but I've been wanting this to happen for years. So everybody knows Tim Doyle. Rohan, you know Tim Doyle too from UFO Seekers, right? So he's finally doing what I always wanted to do. I always wanted him and begged him to kind of do. I've hinted around about it, but he's starting his own training courses for UFO Seekers. Like, he's going to teach people legitimately how to investigate UFOs the way he does. And more than likely, if you've seen a picture of Area 51, those are his pictures. So you're going to be getting trained from the best if you go to ufoseekers.com. And I'm a member too, going through the training myself, and it's really cool. So you guys go check it out. Join up with us. We're going to do this for real. Because this is how we're going to bring ufology back into the fold. We're going to do it right. No more imaging and buddy groups and any of that stuff. We're going to find out the truth for real. What do you think about that, Rohan?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Do you want to know the truth, or do you want to be right about something?
Yeah, exactly. So we're fortunate enough to get our guest to come on too. And I'm pretty sure it has to do with the time change like you were talking about. So that's why do we change clocks? Isn't that weird? I mean, why do we do that? It's kind of crazy.
Well, the funny thing I was saying to you before we started is that my great granddad came up with Willett time, and that was to do with the Second World War and to save coal. Daylight saving time. So they saved millions in daylight saving time at the end of the Second World War, I think it was. So yeah, it's kind of redundant now, but they've just carried it on. But that
they
was
just kept it going, right? So
kept it going, yeah.
So everybody, this is Richard, and it's Willett, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Willett, yeah.
Willett. Okay, Richard Willett. And you're the host of the Glitch in the Code podcast, and you talk about where you seek to speak the truth with the very best in alternative researchers and citizen journalists today. And you try to bring information that you won't find in mainstream media. And also you're the host of Agenda, which is a weekly plus podcast where you take people through the weekly news and connect people to the unfolding technocratic, fascistic agenda, which is kind of creeping me out at the moment too. But then you're also a documentary film producer. So you got, I admire what you're doing, man. And in this world of conspiracy, right? Like, I really like your attitude about it, because it's not all doom and gloom what you're talking about. Like, you do have faith in humanity a little bit, which is good. I think that's really good.
Yeah, thank you. Bless your heart. Well, I work with Jamie and Gareth Icke, David Icke's son, daily. Actually, I was speaking to him last night. We did a show together, and we find that a lot of it is bearable by comedy, the absurdity of it all. So we do another podcast called What If with Gareth, and we look at the most weird moments of the last 2 weeks, and we laugh about them and satirize them, and it is really funny. The whole situation isn't funny. But if you don't laugh at this absurdity, you'll forget how weird it is and you'll start to normalize it. So our kind of idea is to kind of not make it normal. It's not normal. Well, the way they were behaving is not normal. It's weird. It's really weird, especially the last 12 months. It's always been weird, as you know, doing this sort of things. I think we've been able to see it's been weird all our lives, really. I mean, I've been doing this for about 15 years now, but no more so than now. Is it mental? And we should treat it as such. We shouldn't treat it as if it's actually not weird. And I think that gets lost in the conspiracy kind of research. So that's a big part of what we do. And also I tried to point out is that actually what we're doing really is the conspiracy part of it is secondary for me. It's about protecting people that we care about and we love. And that's what it's about. It's about stopping people that we love and we care about being abused, used, and systematically taken advantage of. I hate bullies. And me and Jay were talking about we're talking about this last night. We hate bullies, and that's what it is really about. It's global bullying, and it's global psychologically humiliating people, especially now. So the whole thing really is about stopping people being taken advantage of. And if you take the conspiracy side out of it, really that's all we're doing is saying, look, you're being bullied, you're being abused, you're being psychologically abused by a partner, and this is how, and this is why you need to stop it, and this is where it's leading. And that's really what it is. It's the conspiracy part of it is how it's done, but the abuse is the important thing for me.
I was just talking about that with Rohan too. I was like, hey, you know, a lot of even some of the people in this field that I know personally will talk about, you know, I guess the emotional and psychological manipulation that happens from the corporations and all of the technocratic world, and yet you can see them in their own personal lives doing it to others. And it's like, well, you may see it for what's going on, but you're still part of the problem to me if you're not spreading a message of authenticity, love, and awakening. You know, like you got to do that first, I believe, in your own life, and then get the message out. Because I don't know, I just think I kind of take Manly P. Hall's point of view on this. Because to really change the world and to awaken people, we have to start in our own communities. And thank God we got the internet, right? Because we can build our own communities and start that way too. But we should take responsibility for what we do to people too. I mean, I was just on a panel talking to some people, and I could see like some people just want to be right, and that's another thing too. Like I wanted to talk to you about that. How you go about this, your approach in journalism with the way everything is. I mean, how do we break free from this impending technocracy first before we go down that road? Is that even possible without just going right into breakaway societies or something, you know?
It's a good point. And then that's the whole Brave New World situation, is it, where we kind of divide off into two different places. I think the idea for me is, I changed the psychology in my own head, is that we're trying to keep humanity beside it. So the technology is, again, the secondary thing. We're going to have it. We need it. But it doesn't mean we can lose our humanity in it. And as you just said then, is that arguing over the finer details of who did what during World War II, and it was Hitler funded by this person and that person, is kind of pointless, really, in a sense. It's great to kind of talk about these things and kind of nail them down, but it really are secondary to the fact is, as you say, how you're behaving. So I think the way out of it is our behavior, is kind of checking ourselves and going, am I behaving like an absolute tool? Am I absolutely behaving like an abuser here to people just to be right? Because actually these are theories. At the end of the day, they are theories. We weren't there. We didn't see these things happen. We're theorizing how we got to where we are. And if you put the story together and if you do sign like the work that David Icke's done for 30 years, you'll be pretty much spot on here and there, other than the kind of fringe stuff that even I question. And I speak to him pretty much daily, and he wants you to question these things. So it's your behavior, as you say, how you treat people. It comes back to that. It's okay, well, I might be wrong. I might be wrong, and that's okay. I'm writing a book at the moment, and part of it is about how cults indoctrination processes were used during this last 12 months for the greater good. And it talks a whole chapter about conspiracy and conspiracy entertainment and how we can easily get dragged into our own cult-like mentality, and we need to keep aware of that we are susceptible to being brainwashed into a cult mentality as well in the conspiracy field, if you want to call it that. And to understand that actually what is your aim at the end? The aim is to kind of protect people around you. And if you're frightening the shit out of them with stuff that's confusing them, where are you? Is it an ego thing? Are you just trying to make yourself look good? And I do think we forget that. I forget that. I've kind of changed what I do the last couple of months because I realized that, one, I was getting depressed and down because this stuff is heavy. But two, I just don't want to keep concentrating on the nuts and bolts of the conspiracy. I want to kind of look, okay, how can we cope with what's going on right now? Because it is going on. How can we cope?
It's hard enough to share information, right? And this time,
absolutely,
where a lot of things are getting suppressed and censored with, on these bigger platforms. And I think energy is precious, time is precious, and authenticity and sharing information is, I think we should look at it as a more precious thing, because these people are, I was telling Rohan, I had Lynn Buchanan on. Anybody that's ever had Lynn Buchanan on YouTube gets thousands of hits, right? And they've put a lot of what we are doing on YouTube in this new algorithm where it doesn't, they've pushed it down in the search engine and stuff. Why? Because they're trying to control a narrative, because they think, somebody thinks, I don't know who, that we're influencing people to think certain things, and then they're making their minds up for us, which is a whole, what is that? We're not even able to express ourselves. We should be able to be wrong. You and I should be able to talk publicly and be totally wrong, and not have someone tell us or worry about who we're influencing or who we're not. It's just weird to me, the whole thing, Well,
it's very emotionally abusive, isn't it? It's like if you took it on the micro scale, it's emotional abusive relationship. It is like a cult. They don't want any outside influencers cutting all the information off from anything that's not this one tiny bandwidth of narrative. Trust the science, scientism. It's ridiculous, because obviously 80% of the science is not being told. You're only hearing a tiny amount of the science. It's ridiculous. They're treating people like children. I think they're infantilizing people, to be like children. They're not trusting you as a sovereign adult to look at different sources from all over the world and make your own decision. So then you have to, that's very nefarious. So why are they doing it? Why do they want that mRNA vaccine in you? That you have to look at these things. You get people like in the UK, we've got a guy that does breakfast TV who's luckily to get away with some of the things he's done in the last year that have come out with, that they buried. And he's saying, don't trust the conspiracies about Bill Gates. It's not conspiracy. It's clear fact. Bill Gates was brought up in a eugenics cult. His company, Microsoft, was funded by IBM, who funded the tech for the Nazi war camps, the Holocaust camps. And his dad was head of Planned Parenthood. He openly talks about lowering the world population. And then he's funding the FDA, the MHRA, funding most of the vaccines. It's not rocket science. He's also dicking around with GMO food. These aren't conspiracies.
No, there's this documented. It's documented too. You can check the money, every company that he's involved with, even some of the trials that he was involved with vaccines and stuff that didn't go very well in other countries and stuff. Like, it's not
scores and scores of untested vaccines on vulnerable populations. He's been kicked out of more third world countries than I've had at dinners. And this is the fact. It's a Bond villain.
Yeah,
it's a real life Bond villain.
The weird thing is too is he really, and this is how villains become villains, I think, is he legitimately feels like he's probably, I'm not assuming, but I assume this guy legitimately feels like he's doing the right thing. Like he's helping the world.
Well, it's like in the UK, we've got so-called public schools and private schools, but the general public have to go to the private schools, and the public schools are only for the elites, and they get groomed in there and brainwashed themselves to have that superiority complex. While we're counting apples and dividing oranges between Johnny and Jennifer, they're counting budgets. So they're being brainwashed with this thing of like, well, the little people can't reign themselves.
Yeah, we
so
that like that, like Richard
special,
was saying. We can't think for ourselves. We need someone to tell us what to do. So, Richard, what do you think? Let's say if I came to you, we're just going to do like devil's advocate here, and I said, and I'm Bill Gates, and I said, but you do know that if we didn't do what we were doing, and I was just completely honest with you and told you I was killing a few people off, right? It's factual. We've done the studies that the world is going to be overpopulated, right? Like, what are we supposed to do? Just let it overpopulate and then like die from sickness and all this other stuff? I think about that. Like if I was having a conversation with Bill Gates, what would I say to him if he said those things to me, you know?
Well, I would say, well, but maybe you want to start off with the fact that you guys are hoarding everything. There's enough to go around if you didn't stick it all in your garage. Maybe you're the greedy ones. Maybe you want to go to a country like Australia and look how spread out people are. That the fact that the country is not the world is not overpopulated. There's populations of it's like dense populations of people. It's not overpopulated. And if it is overpopulated, why are you trying to shove everyone into small cities? You idiot. The fact is that you guys at 1%, you've been brought up to be greedy, and you're using the world's resources to your own advantage. You want the resources. You don't care about as many people here. You just don't want us to have any more. It's a bit like Oliver saying, please, sir, can I have some more? And in Oliver, you don't want us to have anything. So it's your greed, for one thing. And also, who the hell gives you the right to decide any of this?
That's the one.
Who the hell gives you any right to say any of this? You're just a sack of bones like everybody else. You're just a person. You're crapping your nappy at one point. You're still a human being, sort of. You were brought up in a cult. So who gives you the right? Who gives you the rights of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds to sit around and decide what's going to happen with the world? I don't put you above me, and you shouldn't put me above you. It's called informed consent. You cannot go around this world making these decisions on this scale, thinking you have the right without informing people what you're doing and why you're doing it. If you're putting mRNA in vaccine synthetic code and you're not telling people why you're doing it, whether you think it's for the greater good or not, it is not the point. You have to get other people's informed consent. You are using it to a different end, and that's what a cult does. Your end and your outcome is not what you're saying it is. Therefore, you're abusing this. So I don't really care what you say, Bill. The fact of the matter is you have no right to make these decisions for other sovereign human beings, and I think you've got a bit of a screw loose. That's what I would literally tell it to his face.
Yeah. It's like, and that's what Rohan was saying. He's like the Lex Luthor, right? You know, the supervillain who feels like I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to guide the world into this because I have all this money and power. It's my responsibility. I know what's right. And frankly, I'm probably more intelligent than most of them anyways. And, you know, and then people treat him. That's another problem is people treat him that way everywhere he goes. Like he's, you know, super important and stuff. And it's to me, you guys know how Microsoft actually happened. It didn't happen because Bill Gates was a genius. It happened because someone didn't take advantage of a software situation. That was all it was, you know?
Yeah,
it wasn't
and
even
it
his
was funded
mind.
by IBM as well. So his mum got the money to see fund Microsoft from IBM. IBM, as I said before, they were the funders and the creators of the ticket machines in the concentration camps. So there's so many eugenics issues going on here with the likes of Bill Gates.
Also, and it also helps when you cheat your business partners and steal computer code. That's always handy as well.
That helps. Yeah.
He's just an opportunist that took an opportunity at the right time. Basically, is what he did. But
you've even seen though, he gets that dupus delight. It's a psychological phenomenon where you know that you're lying to someone and you're going to do a little laugh at the wrong time, and so they'll say, "Oh yeah," and so this many million people might die from this, and he'll kind of smile and laugh, and you think, well, that's not an appropriate response, and it's because he knows he's lying, and it's that superiority ego thing. It gives you a dopamine rush, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a media narrative that's going around that I don't think is going to go away. And I'm curious what you think, Richard, about this too. I don't know how it is in the UK. Maybe both of you can comment on this, but here in the US, if you turn on mainstream news, if they bring up anything that we talk about, they call us conspiracy people, tinfoil hat people, and they don't take us seriously. And they'll make just the vaguest comments that have none of the real information in it. Like, yeah, these people are saying that 5G is killing people. That's why they bombed that building in Nashville, because they're crazy.
The leaps in logic. The leaps in logic of everything. So they'll bung it all in together. So I've seen paedophilia attached to child abuse attached to 5G conspiracy theories. How did you connect those two? And also, it's like, what do you mean by 5G conspiracy theories? Because at 60 gigahertz, we know that it affects the blood oxygen levels, blood carrying oxygen around the body. We know that. So, like, David didn't come out and say 5G caused coronavirus. Not at all. No, he doesn't even believe that the virus exists. So how that would be possible, I don't know. But he said that at 60 gigahertz, it could lower your immune system to the level that you could contract something that wouldn't really usually touch the sides with you. But they don't look into the fundamentals of what you're saying because, one, they're not bright enough. They don't have the time. They have scripts written for them, and they don't question anything. I worked in the mainstream media for a little while for the BBC here in the small part of the country I did. And the person who's directing the news at the moment here didn't have a media degree, didn't do any media training, worked in the kind of like work experience down the stairs, and within 6 months she was directing the news, and that's the God's honest truth. Lovely lady, but she's pressing all the buttons, and I'm sitting there with an honours degree, not that makes any difference, thinking what the fuck is going on here?
But it's journalism though, right? Like there was no journalism involved to begin with, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
There is no journalism. And the irony is in the UK as well, that polls say that the least trusted news in Europe. So how we don't realise that. I think the UK has been brainwashed so badly after the Second World War. We really believe we're really good and ethical when in fact we live in a very evil system, and it's on top of us and we can't see it, like a fish in water. You know, I think we've got a deep psychological brainwashing done on us, and it makes no surprise because we got all the Nazi head doctors, and that's the real talk.
What did you say? No, you're right. What you say is I had this conversation the other day, is that this whole pandemic nonsense isn't being pushed by scientists, if you want to call it. That's a ridiculous term, but it's been pushed by psychologists. This is a psychological thing.
It's marketing. It's not science, and that's why you didn't get the job, because they're not interested in that. Which is why the NHS didn't bother giving any nutritional advice, and they know full well about depression and anxiety and what it does to you, and they've just fearmongered. How can they possibly do that? Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're not coming from the space that they're supposed to, because it's a complete fairy tale. All of politics is a centuries-long Shakespearean performance as a manifestation to hide what they're really doing.
This is kind of left-handed field. I just noticed like a birthday cake spinning around, man. Is it your birthday today, man?
Yeah, I'm 40 today.
You turned 40? Happy birthday, man.
Congratulations.
I'm looking down here on Skype and I'm like, there's a birthday cake spinning at the bottom of Skype. I didn't even see that.
No idea. I didn't know that was doing that, but yeah, I'm 40 today. Yeah.
Well, this is a good time to, when you get this age, I think I've been going through like some type of, I'm about to turn 39 in a couple of weeks. Right. So I think when you get around this age, you start to have like a midlife kind of crisis deal where you're like, all right, I see what's really happening with myself and everything else too. Now what? You know, like now what? That's where I'm at, right? Because I've been doing the show for, I don't know how long. How long have you been doing your shows for? How long have you done it for?
Myself, I've done the show for about 5 years, but I've been doing this research for about 15 years.
Wow. See? So when do you get to that point? Like I'll get to that point where it's like, it's a toss up for me. Because do I want to talk about awareness and consciousness and the exploration of the human potential? Or do I want to keep trying to show people what's going on? Because I feel like sometimes if I spend more time on the human potential and awareness, then people are going to see it, and being humble about it too, you know? But at the same time, some of the stuff, like for instance, some of the stuff that was happening when it first came out, when COVID first came out, the Pentagon in the United States launched a massive satellite grid, and it was just barely talked about, right? One of the biggest satellite grids that the military's ever launched. It just happened to be, you know, during when COVID happened, and people are like, "Oh, the virus." I'm like, what about? It could just be a distraction for a massive network setup too. You know, like that's what I was thinking.
I think you hit that nail on the head there. I think this is a huge distraction from a load of things. Yeah. I think it's a good point, mate. I really do. I think as I said, just hit 40. I've just had a little boy. He's 8 months old, and it's you hit a point where you think, do I want to keep going down the conspiracy kind of level? I kind of got to the point where I kind of know the families behind this anyway, and there is a level of thinking, well, what good is this doing me anymore? I'm where you are. I'm kind of want to go with the more coping mechanisms. I understand now that I'm actually just trying to stop people from being abused and bullied and taken advantage of, and there is only so much people really need to know about the conspiracies. Really, I mean, and there's also people who are better at it than me and are conveying the information. That's why I use a lot of comedy now. But I'm with you. I'm kind of at a point now with the little boy coming along. I don't want this future to be that, and I think it's more showing people their potential, not to answer to these people. is probably more appropriate. I suppose you find your way, but I'm more with you. I want to kind of concentrate on the solutions-based level of it, and maybe that is an age thing, and also having a little boy. I don't want to kind of go too far down the hole again, because it can get very dark and it can get very depressing, and you kind of end up feeling like, actually, this is just shit.
Yeah.
Just shit.
Right.
And I don't want to feel like that anymore. It's like, okay, well, I'm not doing myself any good here, so I'm going to have to come and dig my way back out, take some of the information with me, and then display it in a way that goes, okay, this is dark. These people are behind it. The families like the Bourbon Two Sicilies and these families, you can go and research them. But again, really, what is that going to do? Do you want to find, maybe we should learn how to cope at the moment with it and help each other cope instead of kind of looking at the nuts and bolts in it? Because as you say, it's a distraction. And while you're down in the hole looking at these tiny little fractions, you're really not kind of living. You are just digging around underneath the golf course like a mole.
Yeah, and then you get to the point too. There's also that voice in our head where you listen to the 20-year-olds like yelling and getting loud and angry about everything, and there's that voice in my head that's like, I don't know, what's in the fridge, you know? Yeah. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
Talk radio, then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, and ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your altar box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altar box and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker. Hey, this is Macon, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
All right, the phone lines are open too if you want to call in and speak to our guest or Rohan tonight about what we're speaking about. Main questions that we started the show with, or that I started the show with, is how do we break free from this impending technocracy, number one, or do we break free from it? And is information, the biggest thing, is information a true currency of our time? If you think about that statement for a second. There's currency, there's Bitcoin, there's what everything holds real value, and we don't even know what that is anymore, but everybody's playing these games. But is the real currency of our time information? And how do we effectively share information in a time of media and journalistic suppression, especially if you're into fringe broadcasting, research, alternative journalism, things of that nature? If you want to go to Richard Willett's podcast and you want to go to the website, you can go to glitchinthecode.co.uk. I'll drop that in the chat room. You can join our chat room by going to thefringe.fm/chat room, or you can call in at 1-800-588-0335. And you know what, Richard, I appreciate you coming on regardless of the time change. A lot of people would have just, rescheduled or something. So it was cool that you came on. It says a lot about you.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad. I like what you're doing too, because it feels authentic. And Rohan mentioned that earlier too. Like, you don't have to be, I mean, it's cool to hear people that are intelligent, they have good brains, and they know what they're talking about, and they do good research. But there's something that just relieves people on the inside when someone's being truly authentic. And sometimes they say, you know what, I know this is fact. I think about this kind of stuff, but this is kind of obvious. Or right now, I don't really know what to do, but this is how I'm feeling. And everybody's like, yeah, man, that's so simple. But because we have this controlled mass narrative, we can't do that anymore. And we used to depend on people like Joe Rogan to be that for us. But now, I mean, come on, man. Like, if you listen to his podcast back in the day, when he first started, it was completely open, vulnerable, authentic, and they talked about everything and explored everything. And now it's all about like this image and controlled narratives and watching censorship and talking about that. And I don't feel like we're empowering people, or we're not. There's no sense of wonder anymore. Like, what happened? Or did we lose our sense of wonder? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think with Joe, I mean, I've only listened to his stuff recently as well, and it seems to be he's very gone down that motivational MMA kind of hard man kind of image really, and I suppose that's kind of, I don't know what happened with Spotify. I know you went up missing off YouTube. I think it seems to be kind of been ushered into a corner really, and that's kind of what they do. They don't silence you, they kind of put a box around you and put you in a corner, and that seems to be what's happened with him. You're right, it's about information. It is an information world right now, and obviously that word information, where are you going to line up? Information, where do you line up? What sort of avenue you're going to take? The way of getting it out now, like we're building iconic.com with Jamie Ike and Gareth. We started this ourselves, so it's basically a Netflix for alternative information. And what's really great about it is that we've gone from nothing to building two TV studios here in the UK. Decent studios. It looks like an Alex Jones studio here, and a green screen studio with a big office of about 15 to 16 people from the three of us. And it's becoming a business. And what we wanted to do was create a business around the alternative media. So guys like yourself and guys like myself can do this for a living, because this should be a business. It needs to be an industry within itself, not just us all sitting at home scraping by doing this in the evenings. We deserve.
That's exactly what I want to do at the Fringe FM.
To have this.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
To your ears. Yeah, brilliant.
We deserve to do this for a living. This is more important than the mainstream media. So let's treat ourselves with respect and go out and say, okay, we're doing the hard work. If you want to learn this stuff, you want to see the world in a different way and have the opportunity to question it, then we deserve to make a living at this. So what we've done is built iconic.com to be the Netflix of the alternative media. And it's not just conspiracy stuff. I'm talking about the alternative ways of looking at the world. But also what we do is we mix that in with a live weekly, starting now, Gareth called Right Now. It's a live weekly news show, much like the Alex Jones show, but with comedy, and it's less in your face and far more open. It's not as sort of shouty. Obviously, it's Gareth, so it's quite funny. So we're building a hybrid of live TV and shot like a mainstream media TV channel with then production qualities. The tone obviously is different. The information's obviously different, but the quality. And people want that quality. They trust that quality. So what we've done is build an industry. So we can all earn a living. We can go out and make films. There's budgets to make films. So iconic.com is the alternative media industry. And it has to be an industry for us to earn a living. And we deserve to earn a living doing this work. We do. And we need to be respectful for ourselves. We're not dicking around. We're proper journalists. We're going out actually doing the proper work. We've got the courage to tell the truth. We've got the courage to question this and question that. We deserve to treat ourselves as if we are professional, and we are professional. The people in the mainstream media have opted out and taken the easy route. So I worked in there for a little while. So we want to treat ourselves with respect.
You should, man.
If we do that, and you guys do that as well, if we do that for ourselves, we can treat our audience with respect. We can hold our head up high and go, look, we're fighting the good fight. And that's what we're building at iconic.com. So the future for this sort of information is we've got our own servers, big servers. We're on some mainstream social media, but we're on all the smaller ones because we know we're going to get kicked off eventually. We've built our own app, which is coming out soon for Chromecast. We're hosting our own app off our own website because the big tech companies obviously won't take it like they did to Parler. We're preparing for the future. When we were originally hosted our videos on a Vimeo. But I said to Jay, look, you realise they're going to take us down. When David and their dad did the London Real show and he got chucked off everything, they took everything down off our Vimeo channel. Thousands of videos. Luckily, I'd already told Jay and we'd backed everything up and we had our own server and we just switched it over. But we saw this coming. So you've got to be self-sufficient and self-independent as possible. You're using the DARPA-controlled internet. But you can be as independent as possible. And the film I'm working at the moment called War of the Words got people like James Corbett in there. It's got Ryan Christian, Last American Vagabond. It's got
he's awesome.
Ricky Varandas from The Ripple Effect. It's got Charlie Robinson, Macroaggressions, Billy
Ray. See, and those two guys are on our radio. So you guys are doing TV and we're doing the radio stuff.
Well, exactly. We want to launch Iconic Radio as well. So the part of it will be an actual radio show. But as I say, it will be a paid job. We need to earn a living doing this because you can earn a living. You can do it properly. You don't have to worry about scraping by. We deserve it. We're decent human beings trying to do the right thing. We should treat ourselves as such. So I think you need to build things from the ground up. And I'm passionate about us lot doing this. You guys are putting years of work into this. You should be able to earn a living doing this, and you should be proud of what you're doing.
Yeah,
and not treated like second-class citizens to the mainstream media who do fuck all, quite frankly, from my language.
Fringe FM, yeah, we all built it from it's been like 6 years into the making, and I even took I didn't go to college for broadcasting and journalism, but you can ask Rohan. I took journalism classes from like some of the masters. I also, some of the books that they have in broadcasting schools, I bought those books. I studied them like crazy. I got into this thing. And you know what? The cool thing is I even spread that message to my audience. Like, we live in a world now where you can literally, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything that you want to do now.
Absolutely.
So why do we have so many people playing victim when now is the time? If this was the 1950s, right, and we didn't have all this access to these tools and these things, even open source software, open source servers, things like that. Like, imagine being a person that wanted. You were limited back then. You couldn't go start your own TV station and all this other stuff. You had to go to school or know a family or something like that. It was the old school way of coming up. And now we have all this power at our fingertips. And I knew something was wrong when they were like, wouldn't let David Icke into Australia. That was the second biggest thing. I was like, he can't even go into a whole damn continent and country. Like, what the hell is going on, man? Just to have a speech? Really?
Yeah.
That's awfully strange. Really strange.
It's even more strange when you go to his house on the Isle of Wight, which I've been to quite a few times, and you see what is essentially a fairly old man wandering around his flat making a cup of tea, and you think, you're scared of David Icke? He's making a cup of tea in his living room, wandering around staring out the window, and he's an incredible man for what he's done, and that just shows how vulnerable these people are. You're worried about a 65-year-old man on the Isle of Wight in his tiny little flat, writing books in his tiny little. My office is bigger than his, and that shows how vulnerable these people are, mate. That's a really big. What David has done. The reason why I like David's stuff is not just because of the work he's done. It's because he stuck to his guns for 30 years and said, "F you, I'm doing what I want."
Yeah,
and
that's the power. That's the thing that's got him. That's the thing that's got him, because it's like he says himself, he couldn't fill a phone box in the beginning, and now he's filling stadiums, and then people are coming up at festivals trying to go, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic," and it's how much are you being paid, and he's doing it for free, and it's telling him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you look at and you read the Torah, so we'll read it then, and it claims superiority. That's master race theory. So because there are Muslims that are in the Middle East, that means it's racist and anti-Semitic. Judaism is. It's all an inversion, and it's all a trick. Would you rather? Because you stayed authentic. You can't do anything about it. You can fire as many bullets as you want, but when you're authentic and you stand on the truth,
they can keep him from going into a country. That's the funny thing about it. All right. Blocked him out from going into a whole country. Yeah. That's when that happened. I thought, all right, yeah, we are. That was like we're going into a new world for sure. Because I was thinking, David Icke. Here's what people say. Just like when they call us tinfoil hat people, what they'll do to David Icke is they'll say, "Oh yeah, the reptilian guy." Yeah, like we're all reptilian. So okay, let's take the reptilian thing out and all the stuff he talked about that and whatever. Are you going to throw out the 99% of the stuff that he woke you up to because you're focused on that one thing that he talked about too? That's another thing. Like, it's stupid to me because David Icke is one of the biggest icons of waking people up consciously and talking about the human potential and how we're all creators and how we're all the same and we're just living in vehicles for our own experience. And it was a massive thing that he did. So yeah. I'm curious to see what they're trying to do now. And also, there's a tiny
percent, mate. As you say, Children of the Matrix is one book out of nearly 30 books. Children of the Matrix is the only real one he talks deeply about the reptilian stuff in. And maybe The Biggest Secret. But again, it's a theory that once you read it and take it apart, it makes sense what he's talking about. He's not saying that they shape shift. He's saying your perception of them shifts. And if you understand the nature of reality is that it's all waveforms, then if it's someone who's had a stroke they've looked down and have seen their hand in a claw different because their nature of their mind has changed and it's been distorted. They're perceiving things different. So he's talking about a perception shift, not a physical shift. So that's what he's talking about, but people won't bother looking into that. But that's the extreme end, as you say, of the theories. Everything else he talks about is actually just nuts and bolts stuff. And you should see the way he traces these families back to ancient Babylon and Mesopotamia. People don't know about any of that stuff. I watched a video of apparently PhD doctor. I'm sure he bought it off the internet in a paper mill. And he was talking about David Icke being a Holocaust denier. He's never denied the Holocaust.
They do the same thing to Ryan Gable. The same exact thing.
He's never denied it. All he ever said was that the people behind it, funding it, were not the people you're being told. That's not denying it happened. That's denying where the source came from. But this kid who's apparently got a PhD wouldn't have a clue what he's talking about. Hasn't got a clue. And they'll lump it all in together. David Icke's not anti-Semitic. He doesn't believe in anyone's a different race. How can you be anti-Semitic if you don't believe in different races? And also the people like the Rothschilds aren't Semites anyways. Well, you could get into that. But the fact is that none of it makes any sense. And it's laziness. People's laziness. Can't be asked to look into that. I'll just read the headline and the byline. Well, that's your fault. And that's ignorance. And I've got a thing on my wall that says condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. And it is.
Exactly.
It definitely is. They do that with the Holocaust stuff to Ryan too, because he explains it. He's the show that comes on after me. He's a big David Icke fan too. He's had David Icke on his show, and he says he's like not a Holocaust denier, but he's like, how can you not see that this story is being used when they're for certain purposes, because it is. And there were mass genocides of all kinds of different places and different countries that were even bigger than the numbers of the Holocaust, but they're not being talked about because there's no agenda there. There's no governmental agenda, corporate agenda. I mean, what are you going to do with there's no resources in Rwanda, so why do we care about the genocides that happened there, you know? So it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater in a different way. And all the media has to do, or one influencer has to do, is be like, oh, well, you know, you're a Holocaust denier. Oh, well, you're against the war because you don't want our soldiers to go to Iraq. So you're against our soldiers. And it's just a stupid implant in somebody's head that's not true at all. And people just bite on it, you know? Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, you know?
No, you're right. And it's sad, isn't it? And then that's where you're kind of, you are lost with some people. They don't want to look into things. It's too hard work. And I think, I don't know about you guys, we're all the same sort of age. And I find that interesting is that where does our kind of drive to go? That's bollocks, come in. Because we question things. And also we don't like being told what to do. As adults, I don't want anyone to tell me what I should and shouldn't think. I don't think kids are going to have that now. They're not going to have the ability to go, that's not true. They're not even going to have the opportunity or even the thought process anymore to go, I don't believe that. I'm going to have a look into something else. Well, the way things are going, and that's why this work is so important at our age. I think we're the last generation to be able to cognitively look at the world before the internet came along and go, the world wasn't like this. You lot are mad.
There you go. And guess what happened 100 years ago? 100 years ago this year, the invention of the tachistoscope, which is the very beginnings of subliminal messaging, which then got trialed in the 30s in the cinemas. Yeah.
Is that exactly 100 years or close to it? Yeah.
No, it was 1921, according to Wikipedia, 1921. So what's that? That's 100 years ago, isn't it? So they figured out 100 years ago how to slide images into your subconscious mind without your conscious eye seeing it. Yeah.
The unconscious mind is the biggest thing that we talk about on this show. It is the one thing that runs the world. It rules the world. And if you understand your unconscious mind, and that's a hell of a thing to ask somebody. I'm trying to get somebody to understand what you do unconsciously, what programs you unconsciously. If you can begin to start to understand that, you will get your power back. But at first is a humbling experience, because as a human, you're like, oh shit, like I do all of this stuff unconsciously. I have all of my narratives and programs unconsciously. And everybody gets this, like in your mid 30s, probably that massive wake up call where you're like, what the hell else have they been programming? And what have I been programming myself? Right. And so you have to do this whole life shift. And you're right. I think people are lazy. They're like, the hell with that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take responsibility for my own mind and my own actions and my reality. That's too much.
You got that. You got that. I saw Paul Joseph Watson found an article where it says, George Soros has never been in business with this Venezuelan guy. And then it goes on in the article to explain exactly how he met the Venezuelan guy and when he started the business, in the same article. So they expect you not to read it. It's a headline.
Yeah. Of course. As you say, it's kind of like that. And that comes back to the reptilian brain again. It's this do, then think. Whereas we were supposed to be think, then do, or do, then think again, and then do different. But people don't. They just do They just don't even think. They just go straight to do. It's programmed. And look at them now. They've got masks on. I've got people, 30 stone women in mobility scooters with face masks on, and they're going, "Oh, you got to protect my health." What do you mean you can't even walk? You protect your health. Stop eating.
Now they've got to wear 2 more masks
30,
on top as well.
30 stone. How much is that in pounds? I'm curious.
I have no idea what that is.
But they're 30 stones and smoking cigarettes too, right? I bet they pull their mask down. I saw that today, pulling their mask down to smoke a cigarette. And I'm like, what?
I saw that the other day as well. You utter loon as well. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh, you wear a mask to protect me. Well, you wear 2 masks then.
Well,
it's the same.
You're a lab rat, right? This is, and when I say you, I mean this like the audience. I'm trying to be kind here, but they're messing, they're messing with your DNA, and they want to see how, and this is theory, so don't say Joe Rupe speaking total truth, but this is my intuition. They're doing DNA experiments on you so they can sell the information to China and whoever else once they gather up all this information. They're also doing psychological experiments on you too with the masks thing, and let's do some anal swabs. Let's put shock collars on children too if they don't wear their mask. They're literally raping you with this stuff just to see how much you'll take just because the narrative is out there, right? And then they're like, well, this is kind of weird. Same thing when we get presidents and all this other stuff. These people really like to submit to the dumbest stuff in the world. Maybe they're addicted to it. And the more we do it, the deeper they're going to try. They're going to see, well, what else will they do? What else can we get these people to do? That's what freaks me out, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. The mentality of these people, like the Rockefellers doing lockstep and all of these people experiment. They're wargaming with you, like your little chest pawns, and around they're moving you around. You go, where's your self-respect? They're putting a swab up your ass. Where's your self-respect?
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more intrusive than going. They go, we're just going to have to pop that up your ass, and you're thinking, no. But people go, oh yeah, well, it's for the greater good. What do you mean? What do you mean? You set fire to your hair next. I mean, it's like people have gone absolute batshit crazy. They've got no self-respect. They've got no sovereign boundaries. They've got no ability to go, that's not happening. No, that's not happening. Should have been no 3 weeks after we were flattening the curve and it never went back. Should have been no. That's nonsense then. Never was. And they realized that, oh my God, we're getting away with this.
Yeah.
Oh God, what can we do next? We've got a Filipino version of COVID just come out a couple of days ago.
Another version?
I know. There's a Filipino one. They've got a Kent. We had one in Britain, was brilliant. I don't know if you heard about this as well. The Kent version. It's called the super spreader. Clark Kent. They're taking the piss.
The super spreader.
Because literally they know full well in 100 years of study, they've never proved a germ made a person sick. They've never proved a virus made a person sick in 100 years. And they know all you got to do is look at the history. But because people have bought it, March the 19th, the UK website said, it's not infectious concern anymore. March 19th, it's still there. March 19th, they said it on the website, and then they set no objective, as you say, and people just carried on. They didn't ask for an objective,
No, it's a massive experiment. You're totally right. Yeah. Watching people go one way around the supermarket. I mean, how can you not laugh at this stuff? I've been pissing myself for a year at some of this stuff. Going one way around the supermarket. What? So you don't walk towards each other? Yeah. What are you talking about? Stop it. Just stop it.
The surreal thing for me now
is make sure you don't walk towards each other. I never thought of that too, right? Let's keep them in unison. And here's the thing about the unconscious too. You don't know what's happening when you're looking down and seeing those arrows and you're following them. And then the next day it's called anchoring and hypersuggestion. You follow them even more and you follow them even more. Next thing you know, you're the rat in the maze and you're just like, this is normal life. I'm comfortable.
Next thing you're getting an experimental vaccine.
Yeah.
But it's not a vaccine though, is it? If it's gene therapy.
It's gene therapy. Exactly. I get what you mean. Yeah, exactly. See, there's another level. There's always another level. So you're putting yourself willingly out there to get, and you're not only doing that, you're telling other people they should get it to help you or save an 85-year-old woman. And yesterday they come out and said they're going to start testing it on 6-month-old infants. Now, where does this stop? Like, there is a point where it goes now, and I thought it would be masks on kids. I hoped it would be masks on kids. Yeah. It never was. You go, what are you doing? Stop it now. If you try and put a mask on my child, you need to carry a carrier bag because you're carrying your teeth home.
I thought the final straw for me was Santa Claus in a COVID bed. You know, I thought that is it. That is it. You are completely delusional, all of you.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I think in Britain it's probably worse than anywhere else. It's just a madness. And that's why we kind of got to find funny in it, because if we can it's hard to bully someone when they're laughing at you. And I think the more we satiricalize this and laugh at it, the better we'll do, maybe only for our own mental health. Us guys that understand this. But I mean, it is falling apart. It is absolutely, I don't know about in the US because it's such a different kind of setup, but here in the UK, I see it completely. They're scrambling around, but they've been scrambling around for a while. But again, maybe we'll look back at this in 6 years' time and go, that was mental. But what will the damage be? It's already horrific.
Well, I think comedy and satire is a great move for you to do. I think that's a really good move, especially from Britain, because I think we rely on that as a coping mechanism. So I just want to punch in that masterstroke. Nice one.
We have to get out of here. We're at the end of the show, but it was really an honor to have you on, man. Thanks for coming on and speaking with us and talking to us about this stuff and kind of speaking some sense into us. I think everybody that has a voice that knows what's going on here, we should hear everybody's point of view, even if it's the same. I want to hear everybody's point of view about this. And your website too is it's two that I should have brought up, iconic.com, and that's spelled iconic.com. And that's the network you're talking about, and also your podcast website too, which is glitchinthecode.co.uk. Right? Did I leave anything out, like your social link?
No, that's brilliant. No, thank you for inviting me on as well. I really appreciate your time, and it's lovely to meet you guys as well. What you guys are doing is fantastic. I love radio, and I'd really like to get you guys to chat with Jay, and we'll talk about setting up, because I want to do Iconic Radio. I know Billy Ray's, he's got great presence on radio as well. So what you guys are doing, and let's all get together and help each other, because this is the only way through this. And we built a platform where we can all earn a living doing this as well, and that's important to me, that we all be able to earn a living, because we deserve it. We deserve to do this as a life. And I appreciate your time. glitchinthecode.co.uk. You can find WTF, which is what the actual fuck, on YouTube with Gaz, and that's the funny one we do every couple of weeks. And iconic.com. You've got 7-day free trial on there as well, and the TV shows we're going to be putting out as well it's growing really, really big. We've got some good backers and good funders, so come and join us, and please keep this information circulating, and just understand that it is mental. You're not mental, and the world has gone mad, but you don't have to. Just keep laughing at it.
Very well said. Very well said. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night, same time, same channel, right here on KTLK Digital Broadcasting at fringe.fm. You guys have a good night. Sweet dreams. I had to end it with the Terminator.